My brother ignored his children after their mother's death, and now his new wife wants me to trick my niece and nephew into meeting their half-siblings, but I refuse to help with her deceit. I need to provide you with some background context to get the whole story. My brother has been married twice. He got married young, 20, and he and his first wife had 2 children together, Nico, 19, and Hallie, 18. They were 5 or 6 years old when their mom died. My brother did nothing to help them afterward. He actually involved our father more in his life around that time. Our father is an intoxicated mess and is not a kind or good person. Our father told him to focus on himself and that the kids would have to screw it up, but my brother listened. He wouldn't listen to me when I told him he and the kids needed help, not just him. He started dating 5 months after his wife died. The kids asked him not to and cried into his face like babies, to quote him. When he met his sister-in-law, he introduced them immediately and the kids didn't like her. From what I pieced together, they cried more and told him they didn't want a new mom. So my brother did the kindest, sweetest, and most thoughtful thing that would surely help. This is sarcastic. He sent them to live with their maternal grandparents, stating that he wouldn't put them before his needs. He said he wouldn't let them ruin the best thing to happen to him ever. I distanced myself after this. My sister-in-law would reach out occasionally, and so would my brother. She wanted to know why I distanced myself, why I didn't attend their wedding, and why I chose my nephew and niece over my brother, who'd been to heck and back with me. I was lucky that my nephew and niece's grandparents welcomed me to stay in touch, allowed my family and me time with the kids, and were close. My brother and sister-in-law now have 2 young children together, preschoolers, I believe. My sister-in-law has now decided that the kids should know each other after my father brought up Nico and Hallie in front of the younger kids. She reached out to the grandparents and they ended her call without saying a word. She tried to contact Nico on social media, but he ignored and blocked her. She asked me to let them know she wanted them to meet their younger siblings. I did tell them, but the borrowers are heads up, so they knew she wasn't giving up. They told me they didn't want to meet the kids and would not reply to requests for contact. I told my sister-in-law what they said. Now she's come up with this amazing idea after other failed attempts that I should babysit when I know Nico and Hallie will visit, so they have to meet their half-siblings. She told me I needed to help establish contact. I don't actually know the younger children. I saw them once. But I never babysat, and I'm not a regular part of my brother's life or the lives of his wife and youngest children. So that alone is concerning, as she'd think it was good. But she wants me to blindside Nico and Hallie. I refused. I also made it clear I wouldn't help her with her ridiculous, and yes, I used that word, scheme. She accused me of only caring for Nico and Hallie, being a bad uncle to her children, and not thinking of the best interests of everyone involved. Am I the idiot for refusing to babysit for my sister-in-law and telling her I'll never help her with her ridiculous schemes? Not the idiot in the slightest. How on earth are people so self-deluded? Of course, Nico and Hallie will not want me to get to know their donor's replacement family. I hope they have access to therapy to deal with any abandonment issues stemming from the shameful way their father acted. I'd ask my sister-in-law, why do I need to be a good uncle when they have such an amazing dad? After all, if anything happens to her sister-in-law, the kids will be shipped off to her parents so he can live his life and forget they ever existed. Would it cause everything to implode? Yes. Would it be worth it? Also, yes. This is a brilliant response to my sister-in-law. Where's the petty confetti because it's well-deserved? She's clearly a piece of work herself. She knew that they existed and they were young, and then suddenly they were gone and they were never around. What kind of woman sees that, and I want this to be my kid's dad? Probably the same kind of person who deludes themselves into thinking he'd never do that to me. She definitely has no shame in trying to force interactions with the kids he abandoned. The one saving grace is that those 2 kids ended up with loving relatives and have OP as a good uncle as well. At least they're also adults now, so no one can force any meetings between them and their sister-in-law's kids. However, OP, why on earth do you still talk to these people? They sound awful. My ex-boyfriend Jason, male, and I, female, are in our early 30s. We'd been dating for 5 years and had planned on marriage, kids, and financial planning for our future. He left me in the early summer of last year. His mom was dealing with cancer that was caught late and he couldn't handle being in a relationship. He had to go home and be there with his family. Of course I'm upset for him, his mom, and our relationship. Admittedly, I said something like, "Don't end us, I can support you. I can fly out every so often and help you wash your clothes, get you food, and hold down the fort here so all is well when you come home." So, after that, I realized I had no one to comfort me outside of my parents. If I said I miss him, our friend said, "Well, his mom is dying." If someone asked if I'd been in touch, I'd say no because Jason didn't want to talk to me. Well, his mom is dying. My heartbreak had to take a back seat. I get it, I do, but like no one I cared about cared that I was sad and alone. And I got on with my life, changed the apartment, and only recently started dating again. One Monday, Jason calls me. His mom passed away months ago. I expressed my condolences. We chatted a bit, catching up, and he asked if I wanted to get back together. No. Jason said we could start over. Still no. Well, he wants to know why. I said I don't have those feelings anymore and moved on. So now he's still upset and mentioned that I offered to keep the space open for him. That's when we were dating still. so I said I don't trust him not to toss me away when he has a crisis. He mentioned that a mutual friend said I was still single. I said I'm not single for your benefit and then hung up since he won't get what he wants from me. He didn't want me around in any capacity when he was most vulnerable. That was his choice and I had to accept it. But what if something happens to his grandparents, dad, or siblings? I would be situationally single because my partner doesn't want me there and he can't deal with me being around. Another friend called me yesterday to ask what happened and I told him. He said I should have just politely declined and that Jason is dealing with a lot. I said I did say no twice or so before it reached that point. Well, his mom just died. I said sorry for snapping. So now some friends think poorly of me and like to adjust to being normal. And it's messing with me that people outside of my parents think I'm being petty and lacking in compassion when I don't know what I was supposed to do. Not the idiot. You are not the idiot. Jason left you during a difficult time and now wants to come back when it's convenient for him. You have every right to say no and to not want to be in a relationship where you feel like you could be discarded again. Exactly. What happens when the next family member gets sick? Would he up and leave you if you were married, pregnant, or abandoned his kid? You can never trust him to not leave you high and dry again. He made the choice to focus all his energy on his mom and now he has to live with that choice. That choice meant casting you aside. He can't take that choice back now that he doesn't have to deal with his mom's sickness. And what about when she has something happen? He'd likely vanish so quickly he'd leave a Looney Tunes-esque cloud shaped like him in his wake. Darling, his mother passed away months ago and he couldn't even call or text you to let you know. That's pretty dismissive of your feelings and how important you were to him in the past. Your friends are not your friends. They're his friends. That's why they have no empathy for your position and all empathy for his. I'm a 22-year-old university student and almost all my friends are 18 to 25-year-old students or recent graduates living in my university town. Also, almost all my friends are LGBT and in queer relationships, so there's rarely a pregnancy scare in my friend groups. But when there is, it's always a negative thing. One of my closest friends from my hometown is 31-year-old Sadie. In the 10 years I've been friends with her, she's never had a serious or long-term relationship, just a series of situational and one-night stands. She's financially stable and supports herself. She's not a student, but she's always said she never wants kids or wants to settle down. I stayed in my university town over the summer while I finished my master's, so I haven't seen Sadie for a while, but we talk every day. She's never said anything about getting into a relationship. 2 weeks ago, we didn't talk for 3 days and I was getting worried about her. And then she texted me randomly at 3 a.m. I'm pregnant. So I responded, oh heck, are we happy or sad about this? Who's the father? Because I didn't want to celebrate too soon, as everything I've known about her makes me think she wouldn't be happy about this. She didn't respond, but over 24 hours later, she called me to chew me out on the phone, telling me why I couldn't just be happy for her, and that it was really rude and disrespectful to ask the questions I did. I told her that none of my other friends would be happy about it, and she's always spoken about how she didn't want kids, so I just wanted to make sure I was reacting properly, and she didn't sound positive about it in her message. She said I was psychoanalyzing her, and she's an adult so she can do whatever she wants, and if I'm going to be negative, she doesn't need me in her life. If she told me she was happy about it, I would have been happy for her and supportive. I just didn't know. She also said she trusted me by telling me and she hadn't told anyone else. Also, it was really invasive of me to ask about her intimate life. In our entire friendship, she's always told me about it because we're open like that. Then she hung up on me and we haven't spoken since. She's ignored all my texts and calls. Am I the idiot? I'm worried I've lost a close friend over this. We've never fought like this before. But also, I don't know if what I said was so wrong. Are we happy or sad about this? That was honestly so valid. Yes, I know some people just say congratulations, but I'm just going to go off what you said when you mentioned that pregnancy scares were seen negatively. Not the idiot. To me, it looked like you just wanted to know how to gauge what she was feeling about being pregnant so you could support her properly. I'm sorry she blew up at you though. That wasn't okay. Also, who texts people good news at 3 a.m.? None of the news I've ever gotten has been good, so your caution is warranted. Could the father in question be an idiot? Sure, but again, she hadn't told you about any sort of relationship. And I get that she probably had a lot of her own feelings about it. But if she was expecting you to be blindly happy, that's on her. She's told you her opinion multiple times. Of course you can ask if this is a celebration or not. I'm also wondering about the health of this relationship. She's 31, OP is 22, and they've been friends for 10 years. So 21 and 12. What 21-year-old has a 12-year-old close friend? What was the nature of their relationship? I hope she was a family friend or something. Still, I can't imagine their relationship having a good power dynamic until OP was an adult. And even then, I, male 28, am half black and half Mexican. And I have a kindergarten-age son with my ex-girlfriend who's Korean. Our relationship ended a while ago, but we've always tried to co-parent and keep things civil for the sake of our son. Lately, though, something has been bothering me. My son has started acting more self-conscious, especially about his appearance. He's got my curly hair and darker skin, and it seemed like he was starting to feel uncomfortable with how he looks. A few weeks ago, I figured out why. During a visit to his mother's parents, his Korean grandparents, I overheard them telling me he should be ashamed of his black features. They told him he'd be more handsome if he looked more Korean and suggested that when he's older he should straighten his hair and stay out of the sun so his skin doesn't get darker. I was furious. My son is young, and for him to hear that from his own family is unacceptable. I confronted his grandparents immediately, and they tried to excuse it, saying they were helping him because life would be easier if he looked less black. I told them that's racist and harmful, especially for a young kid who's still figuring out who he is. When I got home, I called my ex and told her what happened. I said that her parents were not allowed to see our son until they changed their attitude. She wasn't happy about it. She agrees that what they said was wrong, but she doesn't think cutting them off is the solution. She says our son should still know his Korean family and culture, and that her parents might change if given a chance. Now my son keeps asking why he can't see his grandparents, and my ex is angry at me. She says I'm being too extreme and that I'm making things harder for our son by keeping him away from part of his family, but I don't want him around people who will make him feel ashamed of his black heritage, even if they are family. Am I the idiot for not letting my son see his grandparents after what they said? Absolutely not the idiot. This is completely unacceptable, truly unconscionable behavior by his grandparents. Giving children the opportunity to maintain a relationship with their grandparents is only in their best interest if those grandparents aren't literally trying to sabotage their self-image and instill self-hating ideas in them. Actually, the fastest way to break an Asian mom and dad: make them apologize. Not to OP to the son. The words "we were completely wrong, and we will never even think about something like that ever again." They have to say them to a kindergartner eye to eye with you and his mom as witnesses. 2-to-1 says they cut contact before they do that. This is so sad. Your son is going to be exposed to more than enough awfulness in this heckish world. He doesn't need to get it from his own family. Saying this crap to a young child can absolutely give them an inferiority complex. No need to put that poison into his head. Also, shaming a child for their body or appearance is never okay. It'll hurt their self-esteem and teach them to value shallow things like appearance. My fiancés, female 29 and I, male 30, are buying a house. It's very expensive to buy a house where we live in California, and we're extremely fortunate and blessed that our parents will be helping us out significantly. To put it into perspective, our parents collectively are giving us 20 times what each of us is contributing financially. Both sets of parents are contributing equally. My fiancé is a realtor and acts as our buying agent and realtor when buying the house. However, she feels like she should be paid her commission on this deal. I have a hard time understanding her perspective on this. I respect that there's a lot of work and other overhead costs associated with being a realtor. However, we're getting a house out of this. Should she be compensated above what is already being given to us? My parents feel strongly against her taking a commission. Her parents suggested that she take some amount of commission, even if it's 25% of what she would normally take. I initially supported her in this because she felt so strongly about being paid a commission. However, deep down in my gut, I feel like it's wrong. It's essentially our parents' money that's buying us a house. I feel like taking a commission is asking to make money off what we're already being given. We agreed that instead she would reduce our offer by the amount of her commission and essentially remove it from the deal. So, no commission is being paid and we're paying less for the house. However, she's unhappy about this and is holding it against me. Am I the idiot for this? Excuse me, she wants to be paid to buy her own house. Your parents give you money and you get the house and she wants to be paid for it. Talk about greed, not the idiot. She's showing you exactly what married life with her would be like. Dude, watch out. I think your fiancé is being unreasonable. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. She's going to cost your parents, who are giving you a massive gift, even more money by applying a fee. Honestly, you're lucky none of them have had a stronger reaction to this, because they'd be well within their right to withdraw this support, and maybe that's the consequence your fiancé should face in order to learn this lesson. Yeah, I would withdraw if that were my son. Dude, they're giving you a dickon of money and that's not enough for her. She should be embarrassed to ask. She is wrong. The sheer audacity is overwhelming. I wouldn't count your parents helping in the future after this stunt. It would make me look at her differently.